Hey everyone, it's Ben from the Urbstead, and today I'm coming at you with a really exciting project. You've probably read the thumbnail and the title, so you know that today we're talking about water catchment system. Specifically today for our side yard, we are going to add a new water catchment system that should be servicing our entire raised bed garden. If you're at all familiar with the term water catchment, what it means is you're going to catch water in a rain barrel of some sort, and you are going to be offsetting the costs of your watering the garden by catching some rain and using that instead. In the back here, last summer, we actually had to do some work on the roof. So during that process, we removed the old gutter, we removed the old fascia board, and replaced the first 4 layers of shingles on the roof itself. Since then, we haven't had a gutter. It really hasn't been that big of a deal. Yeah, there's a little bit of etching in the back here where there's that line, that drip line that happens. And it's also affected a little bit into the carrot bed itself, but really it hasn't been that big of a deal. The big deal is the fact that we are wasting a ton of water that we could be capturing. If you have ever had a garden, and if you've ever watered a garden, you notice that you actually have to use quite a bit of water throughout the summer to keep it alive and healthy and flourishing. Well, that's just another cost that adds quite a bit to your monthly bills. The beauty of a rain catchment system is that you are freely capturing some of the rain that comes from nature and utilizing that in the garden bed in addition to the water that you're already using. If you've seen our channel before, you know that we already have one rain barrel in place, and that is over here on the side where the in-ground beds happen. And that's a 50-gallon drum, and that has actually serviced us really well, both in filling it the chickens' water, as well as a hose that runs back here to the greenhouse. So that's 50 gallons. Now we want to up that. We would like to get a tote that's somewhere around 275 gallons. It's a 1,000-liter IBC tote. And this is a pretty popular thing to be using nowadays for homesteaders and for gardeners. And what we would like to do is we would like to put in a new gutter and plumb it straight into that IBC tote over here. We'll have to do some other details to make sure that it actually fits well and it is high enough off the ground for the pressure to be good, and we would like to figure out all those things together and share that with you. That's the plan for today. To start us off here, I want to walk around here and just visualize with you what it's going to be. Along this whole back fascia board here is where we will be putting the new gutter. And there, down at the end, you should see an existing downspout from the old gutter. Now, this downspout itself, I do not believe will actually be usable with the new gutter that we're going to be choosing. We're going with a sort of a modular plastic design, just the most basic one we could find at the local hardware store. What I'll do is I'll see if there's any usability left in these downspout pieces as a way of recycling and trying to reuse. If not, we will recycle them because they're still aluminum. So that's good. I'll take you over here in the corner. As you can probably tell, there's a ton of junk laying around here still, and that will have to also get cleaned up so that I can actually reach up here and install this gutter. It's all work in progress. Now, I'll just show you around the corner here. So this will be where the downspout will sit in the future. And instead of it going straight down into the ground here, what we're going to do is we're going to have it come over and then back. And over here in this garden, up against the house, is where we will have our tote sitting. I'm excited. I'm just so super thrilled, and I can't wait to actually get it in place. But what we're going to do is we're going to have it sitting probably somewhere about this height. It'll be about 2 feet off the ground, and the tote itself should come up to about here. So what we'll have in this area is some pretty tight plumbing, a couple elbows to get it over into that area. Now, the reason I want to get it so high off the ground is water pressure. You need to elevate the reservoir off the ground higher than anywhere that you want to water. Since the tote itself has quite a bit of height, if we can get the tote 2 feet off the ground, that will sort of ensure that any of the raised beds can get watered. With the extra height, the water level could get up to about 7 feet off the ground. And the benefit there is that you'll have a lot more water pressure. That means more water coming out faster. That means I can water things faster. So here we are in the side yard. the raised bed garden, as I call it. Spider webs everywhere. This is fine. Everything's fine. Here's where we see the downspout, the gutter. It will come over and it should sit either right in front of that window or right beyond that window, depending on how much we would like to block. There's also the chance that we can clear away all of this brush, which would be amazing, and put the tote right here. So it will be sort of blocking this gap of space that you can see into the backyard, but it will also not be keeping light from the house. So if I had to guess, we'll probably go with something about right here, maybe a little bit close to the edge of the house here, but definitely not right in front of the window. There's also a chance that we want to put it on the farther side, but I think that's pretty slim chance. We'll probably want to keep the tote as close to the downspout as possible. That way we minimize the amount of material that we have to purchase. Okay, so the next step now that I want to do is I would like to take you inside and draw out what the plan really is, giving us dimensions, giving us sort of a perspective look at exactly where it's going to go. And then we can also start to count out what kind of materials we'll need to use. And we will talk about the cost of the materials and the overall cost of the project. Here is the back. We're going to call this the back of house. So before we go in and draw in the new details of the gutter system and how we would like the plumbing to look, I would like to get a measurement of exactly how long this space is and exactly how high that fascia board is off the ground. This will allow us to figure out the length of gutter, meaning the amount of gutter pieces needed, as well as the amount of plumbing pieces needed to get us down to somewhere about here. What we are planning to do is we will raise the tote off of the ground either by 4 cinder blocks or 3 over in this area to give it the height it needs to have the appropriate pressure. So let's go ahead and get some measurements down. So what we came up with is that the length of the house from end to end is roughly 412 inches, and the height from the fascia board to the ground is roughly 91 inches. Okay, so 412 inches across. We will put our gutter along here. The pieces of gutter that I will be looking to purchase come in 10-foot lengths. So likely what will happen is we'll put a split line here, as well as here, and then probably right before the downspout piece gets installed. The downspout that is currently there sits roughly along the wall right here. That will be something that we have to remove, and that will be assessed for any usability, but it is all old aluminum downspout, so I don't know how usable it will be for this project. But what we'll do is I will have the downspout module installed just before the end, and I'll have to include a little bit more gutter on the far side, as well as some caps here and here. We also have a solar powered light back here installed on the fascia board, so I'll probably have to look at either removing it and installing it over the gutter or installing it out the side here or something. So we'll have 1, 2, 3 split lines required, 4 total pieces of gutter, 1, 2, 3 split lines, 1 downspout section, 2 end caps. And it looks like, based on the gutter module itself, every 10-foot piece of gutter will need 5 brackets to install it into the fascia board itself. So if we have 4 gutter pieces, but they're not full length, that'll be 1, 2, 3. That'll be 15 plus, I'll add another 3 there. So we'll do 18 mounting clips. Now on this side here, we are going to use a downspout to 3-inch PVC converter, 1 converting tube. And I will use a 90 elbow to get across out into the other side of the house. And then I'll probably use another 2 90s, so one going into the page, and then again another one going straight down. Something to look like this. And at this point, we'll have to come up with how far this distance needs to be from the edge of the house to get this tube out far enough to marry into whatever sort of opening this tote is going to have. And then under the tote, we are planning, most likely it'll be 4 high, 4 columns of 4 cinder blocks, which comes out to be 16 cinder blocks. 1, 2, 3 elbows, 3 PVC elbows. And I will likely get 1 8-foot section of PVC. 3-inch PVC. So that was the design. Just wanted to do a really quick sketch up to see visually how it's going to look. That usually helps me figure out a little bit more of the details, as well as catch some things that I might not have if I didn't do that step. The next thing I want to break down for you is the costs that we are going to incur through this project. This is not going to be a very cheap project in terms of the cost of some of the others that we've done, but I do believe it's going to be a very worthwhile investment. As you can see here, it's around 460 bucks total, and that includes all the little bits and pieces that we're going to find along the way. This list is likely not to be exhaustive. There's probably going to be some small things here and there that we find that we need, and that's kind of the nature of the beast. I'm going to put a rough estimate right around 475 bucks before we're all done here. And who knows, we'll try and get creative about the IBC tote itself. The price on that is something I literally just did some Googling around and found that that is kind of the standard price for a new one. If we can find a used one that was used for other food storage, you see that's the biggest cost. So it is absolutely worth my time to see if I can find that at a reduced price. One quick note, a tip that I've heard from people who have used these totes in the past, due to the threat of algae growth being that it's a body of water in a reservoir in the sun, you would be well served by covering the tote either with a solid coat of paint or with some sort of tarp or used carpet. So that particular item, I don't know exactly how we want to do that yet, but that will be kind of in addition to the costs that you just saw. We might be able to find some reused materials. We might also be able to find some cheaper paint. So that will kind of be down the road once we actually get the system installed and up and running. I hope today's video was educational. As many of you know, starting and finishing a project doesn't always happen in one sitting. Sometimes it does, and that's great. But today's video was that process before the process, showing you the different thoughts that I go through in pre-planning for that future project. I would love to be able to go and purchase all the things that I need the first time, or at least the majority of them. And I would also love to be able to put the gutter up, put everything in all at one time the right way, which is why I like to stress doing this sort of process, making sure all the ducks are in a row before you start the project. So thank you for coming to my brainstorming session and enjoying, hopefully, the different views and the different tactics that I'm going to take to make sure this project goes well as much as I can the first time. So thank you. And as always, grow on.